Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks for joining me. Last time we were on the video, we talked about these chickens, these roosters here. How we have a rooster kind of with the tail here and the beak. You can see the white beak and the face on this fella here. And you can see the same one in the pottery piece that's in my hand behind me. And we're going to go ahead and flip these over. On the pottery piece, you can see the eye carved in a lot better. Pottery pieces are much more defined than lithic ones are. They had a vision for detail with stones that is quite unexpected. And so it does take a minute to learn how to see this art. The reason why I was able to see it is because I single-handedly excavated a mound site that was being destroyed, which normally people don't have the opportunity to do. So I was able to look through the site, find these caches, and you can see this painted red rooster on here too. So just looking at the color, you can see the beak and the eye and the rooster head, and then the rest of the rooster's body there. And I'll go ahead and compare him up to our friend over here. You can actually turn him to the same direction, and you can see how one is just a figurine of the rooster, and the other one is just a painted on version. Sorry, these are getting kind of heavy, so it's making my voice strain a little bit. There we go. That's where we left off last time. These are known as cores. I see in archaeological videos and in site digs and things, people pull these out and call them cores. So it is a core of crystal, but it also is, of course, some type of totem effigy, probably of the owl. We're on the weekend. We're just kind of trying to take it easy a little bit. There's an X printed out on this, arrowhead shaped, almost like a hoof shape. It does have an eagle or some type of bird, of course. You can see the eye there and the beak. This would be the beak, and you can see the line for the beak. It's all about looking for these details, and different distances help, as you guys know. So that last video that I made with, kind of calling out our Nathaniel Fossin archaeological YouTube presence, pretty mad in it, so I apologize if I offended anybody. I know I lost a subscriber over it, but you know, it's not really his fault. It's just when he sits there and tries to make excuses for the rest of the community, and it just doesn't work. You can't do that. This one's neat because it's really showing like a third eye, what it looks like to be a third eye. This would be the main eye, and this would be the third eye on the headdress. But let's go ahead and take a look at it and see. I guess that would be the mouth for that one. Hard to tell. Probably need to look down on it a little bit. But upside down, it's going to be some things too. This is a really interesting one. We have our light in kind of a different way right now. You know what? I can adjust it too, so we can get a little more sun on this or a little bit more light. So you can see some carvings and things in there that I want to kind of take a look at. Let's go ahead and adjust this just a little bit so we can take a peek at that. There's a lot on this. It's a really neat one. So it's totem fellas and all kinds of things. So let's go ahead and try to find something instead of talking about it. So let's look for just an outside image first. It's kind of even just with that big eye right there on the top of it, I can tell it's kind of a creepy one. Like it's kind of a weird, trippy one. There's some portraits right here that I'm seeing with the cheekbone and things, but this is a really high level, complicated, complex stone. So I'm seeing the bird head pointing up to the right now, but what I'm looking at is this recessed face. But I do see, if you guys are seeing it as well, pointing up to the top right now, a bird head. Let's go ahead and take a look at that. See, the bird heads are so much easier to kind of point out. But this one even looks like a robot bird head because he's got so many different things on him. So this is high level. Some of the smoothest stones, the stones that don't have a lot of carvings on them, actually have the most images on them. It's incredible. They're just micro carvings, so small, so thin. It's little tiny etchings, like, geez, it is some type of data. Like it's so thin and small, all the little ridges and things. on some of the smoother, not on these quartz pieces. It doesn't happen on these ones. It happens on the stronger stones. I'll show you some examples of those next time. So let's take a look here. We see a nose poking out, so we can see there's a portrait. See another portrait poking out here. So let's go ahead and see if we can make this outside portrait with a reasonable nose. Okay, and then when we turn it, you can see how it does turn into like a classic face, and you can see how the eye, so when you're looking at it like this, you can see the circle for the eye and the outline. However, it doesn't look right. You see all these gaps, right? Those gaps are filled in once we tilt it. You see all these different lines on here. When we tilt it, those gaps get filled in and the eyes become solid and things start lining up. And that's the way that this art works. You can see how now the circle is more of a circle. This is what I've had a lot of trouble trying to show people, is that it's not going to look right like this, but it's going to look right like that. So you can see how it was done, how there's a lift on this section, and the etchings were done in the back here, and on the front here they were done in the front, and they were all kind of pointing in this direction so that whenever you look, you can shape that eye and get that nose at a reasonable level, and then make the eye come out pretty well with a little tiny ripple or indentation for the lips. And then of course it's more than just the portrait. You can start to look at the hair and everything else on this. So this is going to be the main outside image of the person, and I was going a little too extreme. I think that's better, or a better representation. So you can see how there's that gap. You guys are getting what I'm saying, right? There's that gap. You got to close that gap to make the eye round, and now you can see it's round. This is one of the fundamental things about this type of art. It takes a minute to learn it, and cameras are helping us. Being able to see this through the video is definitely helpful. LED lights are probably helpful as well. So, seeing some birds here. I'm sure you guys are as well. I'm also seeing a portrait for a left side. Looks like there may be some gold in the eye, which is common. It looks like a surface image of a person. Could be pareidolia. This is the thing though, pareidolia is a common thing. Like, people do have that. I think the reason why we have it is because we evolved creating this type of art. You know, think about the constellations, that we create images out of stars and dots, you know, and those are accepted, and we still teach our kids about that stuff. This is a little recessed face. So, I mean, using your imagination or putting together images, it's something that's classic. It's nothing wrong with it. It's not, I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with it, especially when, you know, you consider that this is what our ancestors did, or what ancient people did. You can see the ripples for the hair. This is the woman with the long hair coming back. Of course, she looks kind of like alien-like, right? Of course, there's no aliens here. This is just a cheekbone, and just looks kind of weird until you tilt it and get it just right. We can try to do that. I'm not really sure how, like that. Okay, so you can see how there's a small little ripple, and the face is really just in this small little section. I'm sorry. So you can see how different features and things, you can point out different faces with this. And there's different levels, and it gets deep, guys. It gets really deep. But as of course you can see the top of the hair here coming back. So it just looks like a mixture of things. Almost, you know, just looks like a rock, and that's because it's so complicated and complex. Many different images on one stone. They couldn't carry around 15 different statues, guys. One statue carried several different portraits and fathers and uncles and people. This is a human being right here. In memorandum of them, this stone was made. It's probably not a god from what I can see, and some of these are so different, you know, and it could just be their grandfather or their uncle. And again, when you're looking at it like this, you can see some of the triangles, some of the petroglyphs, and the carvings and things. But when you tilt it, is when you really can see how the eye comes out. And you can see how the mouth opens, and we'll go ahead and move that around a little bit for us. This is the portrait of an ancient person, and people looked at this. Ancient people looked at this not just once or twice. This could have been passed around from generation to generation. This took probably a long time to make. This stone may have been something different at one time. Maybe it was a bird, like a really hardcore bird, and then they redid it and created, instead of just this left-hand side bird here, you see, this, they did other things. Maybe they carved it down and put a little nose and created a different type of animal as well on this. So it really asks, so many questions are risen when you start to see these, and you start to wonder about the eyes on the headdresses and things. Why? I thought that was only in India that they had big eyes on foreheads. Like, why are we finding that here in America? This lady has a painted face. Could also just be that black could be for the bird. Let's go ahead and take a look at this one in different ways and see what we have. This is my first time trying to interpret this as well. I'm going to go ahead and zoom out a little bit, I think, here, so I can get the whole stone. So you can see how there's a line here for the headdress. You can see the texture of the stone. See how the rest of it is smooth. We see a darker section here, so there's probably a little character printed in here, like a cartoony character. Remember, old, Paleolithic, archaic. We're not sure how many thousands of years old it is, but it is definitely thousands of years old. And so we're not sure, these characters like roses and hearts and things like that, they meant nothing to these, I'm not saying they meant nothing. I don't know what it meant. It meant something different. The birds were probably something different. Fish meant something different. Everything meant something different than what it does today to us, to a degree anyway. Here's a bird with a left side beak, with a recessed beak there and the crest and the eye. Probably looks best like that, which is neat because some of them, you kind of face at you, which is one of the style of arts that I really like. Instead of facing it away, you're facing it at you to face, to show this. And this is also a portrait of a person with a mouth and a nose. Of course you can see, but this is a different style for sure. That's a whole different world of from what I've seen prior. Normally, I've always been looking down and looking away, looking at these portraits, as in, for this character right here, you can see the eye, the nose, and the little ripple. Very rarely have I seen one that you point at you, and so that's very unique. And that could just be, that could just be another level that just opened up for me, because that's how this art is. You think you know it, you think you figured it out, and then boom. You find out that you don't. You find out that actually you're just getting started. And there's all different other things on here as well. There's a really neat right side portrait, red, with a big headdress and hair on this person I could see right off the bat. Oh, wow. This is a special one. Okay. Of course, we're seeing this portrait as well. Just looking at the nose here. And, both ways, we're looking at the carving for the eye here, the black eye, the triangle-shaped eye. Has more paint on the top. Beautiful. Oh my gosh. So this one is going to be, I can already see all the way. Look at the portrait right here. Okay, let's go ahead and do a little different sizes and, whole stones and just sections of stones. There's a small section here that we'll go ahead and take a look at. Interesting one, pretty defined one. This is a good example to show you the style of this art. Again, you can see how the carving for the eye, the nose, and the open mouth here and the chin. Okay. And then you can see how the nose is right here, pointed downward. And so we'll go ahead and look at it to the right here. You can see again the big square or diamond shape for the eye, the nose poking out, and the portrait of the human in the crystal. He's polished. Things you can see, cheekbone rising, and of course the hair, which may have been a mohawk from what it looks like. And I'm going to go ahead and move my hand because I'm really covering up a whole lot of the statue. Because of course you see the top of the head and this whole mohawk coming all the way back. And then the portrait of the, the portrait of the person. There's another portrait in there. Don't look at him yet. This is the portrait of this person, of course. And then, cha-ching, there's going to be another portrait just in here as well, which I know it's freaky, but that's what we have here, guys. And on every edge and every corner, we'll be able to do that. Look in different directions and change the distances as well. So, my friends, this is what we have. Let's look at the back. The back is going to be a pretty wild face. Wow. It's a good example. I'm glad we took the video today. It's getting dark out. Oh, it's gonna start getting dark out here. Just starting. It's Sunday night. I hope you guys had a great weekend. Ready for the work week, rejuvenated. Gonna start this new year right. Get all the things done that you need to get done. Take care of business. Alright guys, I'll see you in a bit. Probably next weekend. I'm gonna try to probably take a little bit of a break till the weekend. Try to come up with something really good for you for the weekend, alright? See you then. Bye bye.